I would like to announce that we have a really special presenter today, and I hope you will enjoy the presentation. Anna Urbaniak is a business consultant, coach, and change leader supporting ambitious organizations to improve their mindset, culture, and performance. She believes that reframing the way we see change can present incredible opportunities for organizations to empower employees, create incredible growth, and see a lasting transformation. So please welcome on stage, with an outstanding applause, Anna Urbaniak with a presentation, Organization as a Platform. Stage is yours.
Thank you. Just waiting for my laptop to recognize my finger. Hey. So I invite you to close your eyes and just for a moment, imagine two possible futures where we could be in 20 years from now. One, a future where organizations carry on working the way they have been, perpetuating the problems of the present, where the most possible outcome is they are still fighting to attract and retain customers, and they still find it challenging to attract new and retain existing customers, where you feel overwhelmed, overworked, unappreciated, and slowly burning out, while employees, customers, and organizations are striving to survive. And now I would like you to imagine there is an alternative possibility, where organizations put people first, both employees and customers, where organizations are placed for both business and personal growth, where employees are nurtured, encouraged, and valued for who they truly are and what they have to offer. And that's for both customers too. And in such organization, you feel inspired, motivated, encouraged, appreciated, and fulfilled, knowing that you are solving real problems for the real people and making a difference. What if organizations could become platforms for positive change, where employees, customers, and organizations are not just striving, but thriving? So with your eyes still closed, so you don't judge yourself and you don't feel judged by others, I want you to raise your hand if you would like to see the second vision become our reality. I'm glad you agree with me, and you can open your eyes if you haven't done so yet. But if inside of you there is still a tiny bit of doubt that those are just sounds like idealistic concepts and ideas, in this talk today, I would like to present to you some of my ideas, supported by research and by evidence that we're already on that path, and it is happening and it is possible. So let's start. Let's start with putting people first. So what I mean by putting people first, I mean that every person is unique, and they actually are able to be in the organizations who they truly are and lead from that place of their personal power and purpose. Because as people, we are so much more than our roles. Like, yes, I am a consultant and a speaker standing in front of you, But I'm also really passionate about being a role model for the young people because I grew up with not very many of those around me. I have a German Shepherd dog, and I love taking him for walks at lunchtime. I drink my coffee with oat milk, and that's my way to support the challenges around the climate change, just a small one. And twice in my career, I left organizations due to burnout because my mental health and my well-being were more important to me. And each and every one of you, you've got your own story. You've got your own set of things that make you you. You've got your purpose, the causes you support, the things you value. And that's what makes you unique. That's what makes you a genius. And everybody is a genius. But if we continue to judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, guess what? It will grow up its whole life feeling stupid. So what I'm calling out for is that we've got to create, the organization's got to become the environments in which that fish can just learn how amazing it is. It can become what it truly is. And so if we help the people to either discover or connect to their true selves and their true purpose, then out of that purpose, they will be able to get excited about the causes they can work with. And by connecting them with the customers that actually also have got their own needs, right? We talk a lot about meeting the customer needs, but connecting them to truly work on something that is meaningful and truly makes a difference. In my research, the best term I actually found that encompasses those 2 points, it's employee engagement in the management talk. So employee engagement or engaged employee is a person that is inspired, energetic, and excited about their work and their workplace. And out of that, they've got something called psychological ownership, which means they are very productive and they're also very creative because they want to move that organization forward. So that's the definition by Gallup, one of the largest databases of management data in the world. And this is what I found at the end of the engagement report from 2020, is that employee engagement includes the emotional and social needs. So the aspect is focusing on ourselves and how we feel, as well as the interactions with those around us and the customer. But the important thing is like doing the work that you're good at and connecting that work with a higher purpose. So let's look at the data a little bit deeper. So if we look at the data, this is a data from the last 20 years, where employee engagement, and this is United States, so about 20 years ago, employee engagement was at the level of 30%. This chart doesn't have what it is today. The answer for 2021 is 35%. So in 20 years, that has risen by 5%, right? Globally, this number today is 15%. Only 15% of us are actually feeling engaged and excited about the work that we are doing. And that is a problem, because that means that in the past 20 years, that employee engagement has barely shifted. So if that is true for the last 20 years, where would we be in the next 20 if we continue doing what we have done? So let's ask the questions. What are we doing wrong? Why is it not shifting? And this is where, if we look at the employee engagement initiatives at most of the companies, it's the HR thing. You know, they get you to fill in the survey once a quarter, and maybe if you're lucky, you will see some results, or forget about actually seeing anything being done with what you said, and then you're not going to fill it in again. And then they send you on a training. They invest in you. They send you on a training to discover what is your personality type. And when you discover your personality type, you come back, you said like, oh, I learned something about myself, but then no one does anything with it. So we have not been putting people first. We've been putting tick boxes first. So we tick the box of, yes, we do something in that area of employee engagement, in that area of diversity. Yeah, we've done something. Yeah, on to the next one. And that's a problem. So in the new way of looking at organizations as platforms, there is another aspect I see, and that one is about solving the real problems of the real people. So in collaborations, employees and customers can actually get to the real thing that needs to change and stop building the solutions for the sake of building solutions and next number of features then don't get used, and you've seen all that data, only 20% get used and all of that, so I'm not going to go over this. But we know that the things that we are doing, they don't always solve the real problem, right? And we might want to ask, but okay, Anna, what is the real problem? So given I talk about people and actually listening to them, there's many sources of what are the top 10 world's problems. I've used the one when millennials spoke, and millennials told us what are the problems of the world. Number 1, climate change. Number 2, large-scale conflicts, wars. Number 3, inequality. And that is in education, in opportunities, in gender, etc. So we know what the problems are. So alongside of knowing what the problems are and talking about the employee engagement, we also have got to look at numbers, because what does the putting people first over the profits give us, right? Again, Gallup here from 2019, they found that companies that actually proactively and in a meaningful way, and they've got a bunch of different methods that you can use how to do that on their website, the companies experience increase in productivity, employer productivity by 17%, sales by 20%, profits by 21%. So let's ask what happens if we don't do those investments. So what if we put profits before people? So if we put profits before people, that costs the global economy $350 billion a year. Ouch, that's a big number. And similarly, hiring costs across the globe come to up to 1.1 billion a year. And 51% of people in companies are actively looking for a new job. And they've got a bunch of reasons in the survey about what that is. But effectively, what I'm trying to say is that not putting people first cost us a lot. And putting people first got amazing benefits. So how can we move towards this an organizational model that puts people first, right? That connects us to their purpose. And here I want to look at the lessons that we have learned from the platform revolution. So platform revolution is a backstory of the companies such as Facebook, LinkedIn, Airbnb. I think you are the crowd that knows that very well, right? So what they've experienced in the last 20 years, they've experienced exponential growth. And when I mean exponential, I mean it. Like really high numbers, right? So this is 2021 numbers. I'm going to pick an example of the one that stands out the most, which is Hilton and Airbnb. 100 years difference between those two companies, almost. Number of employees, Hilton, 142,000, while Airbnb has just over 6,000 people. The growth almost tripled. The market value almost tripled. When I saw those numbers, I was like, this is insane. Like, what are those guys doing, right? And I know technology accelerates things. And we're going to dig into what are the lessons from that platform revolution that we can leverage for the organization. So let's just quickly recap what the platform is. So platform is any network that enables that facilitation between the participants and is actually them who generates the value for themselves and for each other, and therefore for the ecosystem. So if we look at the lessons learned from that platform revolution, we've got A, people are key. Without people, platforms fail. If we don't go on Facebook and we don't create contacts and click and interact and message, there will be no Facebook. Another thing is the interactions are very important. So those are the interactions between the participants that are actually between the participants that are delivering value. Those platforms do not provide end customer products or services. So they really focus on creating the best quality interactions that attracts more people to come on the platform, right? So again, example, Airbnb really heavily relies on people with the rooms and the people who actually need the rooms to come on the platform and do something. And they make it attractive and easy and convenient, and they continue to optimize that attractiveness, easiness, and convenience, so more people come, and the more people come, they scale, and they leverage something called network effects. But I think that learning is very important, because they are learning from the information about how those two ends, those participants who are on the supply and demand side, how do they interact? And then based on those information, so it's like, what I hear is like, we are listening to people, right? And then from those interactions and the lessons learned from them, they improve that platform to make it more effective and more attractive, etc. And the last one is, by doing so, they actually unlock the potential and value, and they experience remarkable speed in value creation that wouldn't have been unlocked otherwise. Because it's not the employees of the platform that are trying to build the products and services. It's once that platform is there, the people that come on it, they do the actions that create value. And that's what creates the exponential growth. The growth of Airbnb is not the 6,000 people that work there. It is due to millions of people that are on that platform. So platforms became very powerful. There's big money behind this, and they're very powerful, and when you're powerful, you can misuse that power. So what I'm not saying is that every organization should become a digital platform. But what I am saying is that digital platforms has shown us that by focusing on people interactions, really actively learning and unlocking that potential and value, can create a fast change and exponential growth. So what I am saying is that organizations should become platforms for positive change for us all. So how do we do it? I think the business case and the numbers talk to itself. So now there's a big question of how. And I don't have a full and complete model for you, but that works, and you can just use it, and this is a silver bullet. There's no silver bullet. If anyone attended Joseph's presentation before me, you will know that. But what I am saying is that we must be very deliberate and mindful about the kind of changes we're introducing in the organizations and the way in which we introduce them and what impact are they actually creating. So do we have anyone in the audience that has a manager in their job title or some kind of managerial responsibilities? You are very important. Because you are becoming the architects of organizations as a platform, or the architects of the organizations. What you do and how you introduce changes really matters and makes a massive difference. Here are just a few examples of the changes that I have experienced in the organizations, of introducing the organization, and I've seen them working, when they really focus on the people and all of those interactions. And many of them are not new to you. And people have been responding. People have been actively choosing what kind of organizations they are wanting to work for. And these retention numbers of the 50% of people actively thinking about leaving the company, although there is no threat to them or any kind of stimulus, it's a big number. And here are just a few more from just wild world out there. So those case studies are from the corporaterebels.com. I encourage you to check out their website. They've got like nice short videos for each of those companies. But what I just wanted to summarize here is when organizations put people first, where they're more human and they're better motivated and they're trying to find better ways of working and really trying to help them to find a truly impactful work to work on. And they reduce the distance between the employee and the customer, then they benefit from the amazing results. Those organizations are particularly interesting, and there's a lot of these new unattainable concepts for large organizations happening around flat hierarchy and self-management and self-organizing teams, and then businesses structuring into being a micro businesses. So large organizations get flatter and flatter, and people then aim or they define the career goals and their development, etc. So really a lot of interesting and practical stuff about how did they undertake that transition from being in a quite troublesome past to a very successful future in less than 10 years. So what I would like us to think about is, how about if we reframe change as an opportunity to develop a new organizational model? So I want us to start a conversation, because we already have all it takes. We've got amazing talent, we've got amazing people with skills, abilities. It's abundant what people can do. So this is not a matter of potential. We already know what are the problems, we already have the tools. But it's a matter of intention. We've got to be very clear about where are we going and why. It's a matter of collaboration. I can't do this alone, and neither can you. But together we can make this happen. And it's a matter of choice. I need you to choose now and to choose together. What kind of vision would you like to be living in 20 years' time? I'd like you to choose with me, or I invite you to choose with me, a future where organizations are platforms for positive change for us all. And if after all this, there is still some doubt in you, thinking like, oh, I don't know, this lady sounds a little bit crazy, and these ideas are a little bit out there, do you know who that is? Anyone? Go on, just speak up. Nikola Tesla, very good. So in late 1800s, almost everyone thought he was crazy. Entire system was against him. And today, everyone wants a car with his name on it. Thank you very much.
Second.
Are you voiceless, Daniel?
Yeah, but I'm here.
Now you're hearing.
So, Anna, we want to give you some essence of the Hungarian culture, just to taste. And another applause, please, because I was really into your presentation and I forgot to come on stage, so it was so cool. That's yours.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It's my first time in Hungary, so that is a much appreciated gift.
Yeah, and now we have time for questions. Actually, before we go to Slido, I have a question, and this is where do you put ownership in this whole universe? Because I've seen the glimpses that it can be a really right path towards the future, but it's always, there has to be someone who kind of leads change or makes those things happen. So how do you see ownership in this universe?
So I think the ownership is very important, and I think ownership comes here at many different levels, right? So we spoke a little bit around the psychological ownership for companies, or the employees engaged in the companies. However, I think there is probably layers of the how that I'm hoping to discover together with people who are interested to have the conversation. Because there is an aspect of a personal responsibility and ownership of our own experience and journey, because we've got to also participate in this. There's also in the transition towards this, right? Like I tried to describe the vision, and we know that vision is always idealistic, and there's going to be a transition leading us to that place, and kind of ownership and people who will choose to serve, the people who will choose to be the example, it's going to be really key. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Okay, I felt the same.
Is that a wine conversation?
Yeah. So, okay, let's see the first question. In a capitalistic business world, how can a company survive long-term by putting shareholders' interests last on their priority list?
Very good question. And I've got two answers to this. One is the case study I shared have actually done really well because they delivered this exponential growth and exponential value to their customers, and as a result, business has grown. I have not been in that company, so I don't know how that exactly looked like, meaning that, have they kind of done it as a bit of an experiment? Did they get a stakeholder buy-in? That wasn't covered in that case study, right? But what I also see is, there was a lady I was coaching, and she is an organic winemaker, so she works on the wine farm. Very good. And what was very interesting is that as a result of making organic wine, there is a byproduct from that wine that it is very high in antioxidants. So it makes an incredibly good ingredient for other industries. So I believe that there is a way, and then so let's just follow that thread. And when we make that, let's just go with this antioxidant, become a fantastic soil fertilizer. And as a result, we have a demand for the soil fertilizer because there are other industries that need soil fertilizer in order to make organic food or just generally good quality food. So it becomes that kind of cycle that like spins out. The demand and supply just start circling up. Right? So I believe that and there are case studies out there, that this win-win-win opportunities are there. But it requires that to be in the right kind of mindset, right? That company I'm sharing with you, they're also looking at opportunities of using the wine farm for education. They're also looking at how can they use that for some of the well-being events or generally for the events. So everything around that organic lifestyle there. So I know a few of those examples. However, my second answer is, you probably have been at some point in the last 2 years of pandemic in the conversations about this, I don't want to go into politics, but like, is the capitalism as a system changing or needing to change? And there's a lot of very interesting movements already in Scandinavia that are actually discovering much more of the community-led and purpose-driven ways of conducting business that is not just focused around making money. Because if you think about it, there is enough money in the world for all of us. It's the distribution of it that's a problem. But I'm going to leave it there.
Actually, I truly believe what you said, the win-win-win situations are key. So as a leader in a software company, I think the same, that if you want to run a longer career, you need to find a win-win-win. A win for yourself, a win for your team, and a win for the company you're working for. And I think this is kind of the way to survive, and not to survive only, but to develop yourself. Okay,
nice.
Let's jump in. How would you get people engaged in the client's interest in an outsourced environment? Yeah, that's a great question.
Okay, how would you get, just so I understood that question. So in the outsourced environment, that means when you're offering services that are being outsourced?
I think it's like a shared service center maybe. So if you are working outsourcing or whatever, so you are outsourced. So you're not working for the main business line, but you are kind of working in a cost center, not a revenue generation center.
Okay. I haven't come across this one, so I might not be able to tell you what I would have done or what I did, but just reflecting, and thank you for explaining that, what I would do, I think there is a trail of, there's actually a couple of ways. One thing is, you know that story of there was a janitor in the NASA when the President Kennedy was visiting and they asked him, what do you do? And he said, I'm putting men on the moon. Right? So I think there is an opportunity to find this kind of supply chain of like eventually what you are doing, you're contributing to something. It's just that very often people in those organizations don't hear those stories. No one comes and tells you what difference that outsourced service did, right? So I think there is something to improve in terms of communication engagement. That way people can actually start seeing impact of their work. Another way is to help people to maybe find a meaningful, impactful work other places, right? Like social responsibilities and those kind of initiatives just really help with that kind of motivational engagement. Not even mentioning the internal things which you can become a mentor to someone, you can become a coach, you can develop, new process, new initiative within the organization. So I think there are ways. Happy to brainstorm with person who asks later on.
That's okay. Okay, let's see on top. What is the minimum number of people or customers to participate in the platform to be successful? So what is the minimum number of people to participate in the platform to be successful?
I don't have the answer to this. I don't know what the minimum will be. And I also think that when we talk about the minimums, we start getting into trying to define something, to just like nail it down, like what is it we need. And I would like to have the conversations about some of those things, because I think there's not going to be just one way into getting to this model. I think different people will develop different models in different ways. I think what's got to drive us towards, we need to be driven towards a shared outcome and the value we can generate in a very people-centric way, but not necessarily, at least I am not planning to develop a model and go like, okay, this is the model, how you become a platform. I think for me, the ideas I shared with you are my own motivation to do the work I do, because introducing change in the organizations is hard and sometimes it's a very thankless task. And kind of having that vision and having the purpose and saying there's something greater than me that I'm contributing to, gives me that motivation. I hope that that can do the same for you.
Okay, let's see, how to talk with a manager or director or CEO to start changing the organization. That's really interesting, because so it starts from the bottom, or it has to start on the top, and so it's a top-down or a bottom-up change.
I think it can be both and the hybrid of it. And I'm going to refer you back to those case studies. There's one organization in there, I won't remember the name on top of my head, and they did it very top-down, but a top-down in a way where they actually engaged the employees to have a say, and they took that information on board and they crafted a proposal for change together. So there's also something about the CEOs and leadership and what is their style. There is another one when the change came totally bottom-up. There is another case study that tells you about how to do that if you want to engage like external consultancy that can help you to kind of come in and do it across all levels. So there's some interesting case studies there that I've shared with you. So if you've taken the photo, or if you would like to ask me about the link, it was corporate/rebels.com. No association with them, just found their work really easy to visualize and understand.
Okay, 2 more questions. Is an outsourced company where all engineers are self-employed, freelancers, or a good example for an organization as a platform?
I really like this one. Whoever asked this one, I think that is a possibility. And it could also then, like the way I see it, is that could also be, so you've got engineers as a freelancers, but then you also have got other people that are complementary to engineering too. And that from the perspective of other disciplines, like you've got the designers, the product, etc., but also from the perspective of what does the organization need. So what about like, hiring being also part of that, and maybe some kind of coaching and development, and the procurement. So it's the things when people kind of come together where there is a need and where there is something to address and solve, rather than them kind of being there always. And I think that's a good one.
Let's see the last one. Is it harder to put people first in the office or at home? Yeah.
Recovering work addict, I tell you, is much harder at home in my experience. However, I think through our professional as well as personal life, I think we're learning a lot of lessons, and we're developing the levels of awareness and the qualities that actually help us to catch ourselves when we do this. So I definitely personally get those moments when I get really stressed and I can just feel into being my head so much that like my partner is like on the second plan. And we have a very good relationship, so he checks me in to say, are you doing this thing again? I was like, yes, thank you. So I think it all depends on your level of self-awareness and your priorities and the values in life, because we're all unique, so it will be different for different people.
Thanks a lot, Anna. We run out of time. Thanks a lot for all the questions, guys. If you can hunt down Anna today here in the venue, I hope you will stay for the party tonight. You will. So if you have more chance on the topic, look for Anna. She's really talkative. She can give you some advices about the platform. So have a big applause, please, another time.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
It was a pleasure to host you.
Thank you.